Previously on the American West, the nation and big business struggle to settle the western frontier. And Deputy Marshal of Dodge City, Wyatt Earp, has discovered that with more money comes more corruption. So the lawman turns in his badge and heads further west to new opportunity in a town called Tombstone. Meanwhile, in Missouri, after 3 years in hiding, notorious outlaw Jesse James reemerges.
I want everybody's attention. I want it now.
With a new gang, and once again finds himself one of the country's most wanted men. In New Mexico, Billy the Kid has been on a murderous rampage. But when the law finally catches up to him,
It's accurate.
Billy will have to plan his next move from behind bars.
You really kill 21 men?
Don't believe everything you read in the paper. You know, I was never a criminal until the law made me one. I had a reason for every man I killed.
How many reasons did you have?
21.
After surrendering to lawman Pat Garrett, Billy the Kid awaits his trial for the murder of corrupt Lincoln County Sheriff William J. Brady. As news of Brady's murder spreads, it only adds to the West's violent reputation.
During this period in the West, they're just trying to protect their bottom line. Everybody's saying, in order to transact business, we need to put the clamps on all this lawlessness.
The government knows they can use Billy the Kid to send a message about lawlessness in the West.
In the entire Lincoln County War, Billy the Kid is the only one charged with any crime, and that's because the territory was determined to get rid of him. He was bad for business. He's just too reckless. We can't have outlaws if we're going to bring business to New Mexico.
In a trial that only lasts one day, Billy is sentenced to hang. But New Mexico's infamous outlaw isn't ready to give in just yet.
Lunchtime, Billy. Cold grits. Just how you like them.
Pat Garrett left Billy the Kid with two deputies. One was a nice man named Deputy Bell. The other was a man named Bob Ollinger, who was a mean guy. And Billy hated him.
Not so tough anymore. Enjoy the gruel.
When Billy was in the jail, he was thinking, how can I get out of this? He was not going to hang easily.
Damn.
Little help?
What, you want me to feed you?
Unless you got a better idea.
Stand up. Taking the shackle off once we're done eating. Goes right back on. You got 5 minutes.
Hey, Deputy?
Bell, don't!
Once again, Billy the Kid has pulled off an impossible escape that leaves 2 deputies dead.
He was a very charming guy, but he literally had no problem killing anybody.
Now, the most famous outlaw in the West is back on the run. 400 miles away, former lawman Wyatt Earp has moved on from the corrupt town of Dodge City and is looking to strike it rich in one of the biggest new boom towns in the West, Tombstone, Arizona.
Tombstone explodes on the scene because silver had been discovered there. One day you were looking at a desert landscape of mesquite, and then as if a magician had waved a wand, suddenly you had a town.
Tombstone was the absolutely typical boomtown. Once that word got out, it swelled in size dramatically. The usual things that come along with it, the gambling, the prostitution, but also a lot of legitimate businesses.
The Tombstone.
The Tombstone.
Wyatt's brothers Virgil and Morgan join him in his plan to mine silver. But the Earps quickly discover that the best mining land has already been claimed. After traveling nearly 900 miles to seek out his fortune, Wyatt's prospects are growing dim. But the boomtown has a new problem, and Wyatt may be the perfect man to solve it.
Tombstone in the early 1880s was your typical boom town. But it was hard to get there. It was not a train that came to town. You had to go from train to stagecoach or wagon.
Stagecoaches carried thousands of dollars worth of silver from Tombstone mines to the nearest railroad head, making them prime targets for criminals looking to make a quick score.
You'd have a driver, and then you'd have a shotgun driver sitting right there with a shotgun, ready to take on whoever there was. But despite all of that, the stagecoaches were sometimes ambushed, sometimes there were deaths.
Looking for a solution, local businesses turned to Wyatt Earp for help.
Wyatt was the right lawman for Tombstone because of his background in the Kansas cow towns. He understood cowboys, and he understood how they acted, and he could read the warning signs before they came. So it just happened to be the perfect storm when he came to Tombstone.
Wyatt Earp is appointed deputy sheriff of Tombstone, and with the help of his brothers, begins making an impact in the lawless boomtown.
As deputy sheriff in Tombstone, he's remarkably effective. He trails killers, he makes numerous arrests, men don't escape from his jail. Wyatt took that law enforcement responsibility very seriously.
In the spring of 1881, Wyatt gets his biggest case yet, when a stagecoach robbery outside Tombstone leaves 2 men dead.
When a robbery such as the spectacular robbery of a stagecoach going from Benson to Tombstone occurred, it was really a big deal.
Wyatt Earp doesn't realize that he's just walked in on a case that will cement his place in Western mythology. to an outlaw.
Looks like there were 3 of them. Maybe more. Didn't stick around long. They didn't even get a shot off. Who do you think did it? I don't know. But I know who probably does.
There was $25,000 worth of silver on board that was going to be used for currency in Tombstone. Wells Fargo put out a very large reward to find the perpetrators.
Deputy Sheriff Wyatt Earp knows that in Tombstone, there's only one group capable of an act like this. A ruthless gang of outlaws known as the Cochise Cowboys. The Cochise Cowboys are made up of nearly 300 cattle rustlers, smugglers, and bandits, spread out across the Arizona territory, who have developed a notorious reputation across the country.
The Cowboys were known for their hot-headedness. They were a pretty bad lot.
One of the most well-known of the Cowboys is a man named Ike Clanton.
Ike Clanton's one-man riot, the notorious man, not a man you wanted to offend.
There better be a good reason I'm here. It all depends on you, Ike. There's a stagecoach robbery a few days back. 2 men are dead. Judging by the tracks, I'd say there were 3 men. You think I did it? No. Wells Fargo is offering a $3,600 reward for their arrest. You give me the 3 names, I'll give you the $3,600. If anyone were to find out, and I mean anyone, no one will find out. I'll give you my word. Leonard, Head, and Crane.
Armed with names of the men responsible for the robbery, Wyatt Earp sets off to track them down. 400 miles away, Lincoln County Sheriff Pat Garrett is about to begin a manhunt of his own.
Where the hell did Billy get the guns?
Pat Garrett has 2 reactions when he sees this horrible jailbreak. One reaction is tremendous anger. Another reaction is tremendous guilt. Pat Garrett knew Billy was ruthless and would stop at nothing to escape. I think he felt like he was partly responsible for those murders.
How do you think it is that you got elected sheriff of Lincoln County? Because you're a popular man? Some kind of great success? People of Lincoln County didn't elect you sheriff. I did.
I found him once. I'll find him again.
Try not to lose him this time.
Trust me. I won't.
prominent businessman Thomas Catron knows, in order for business to grow in the West, he needs to stop Billy the Kid, once and for all. And this time, Pat Garrett's not taking any chances. Because he's not out to arrest Billy, he's out to kill him. Jesse James's first train robbery in 3 years is a failure. He knows he needs to make some changes if he's going to continue his life of crime.
With Jesse James, it's like all these movies. These guys who go into retirement, they need a little money, and you're like, oh, one more job. That is Jesse James.
Train's gonna come around a nice tight bend, and it goes up a ridge, which is nice because it's got to slow down considerable right there. That's gonna give us the time we need.
Jesse begins picking his targets more carefully and hires a new gang member to help him pull off the heist, fellow Missourian Charlie Ford.
There was something about Charlie Ford that Jesse liked. I don't know what it was. And Charlie Ford liked Jesse.
There was a certain code of honor. I think a certain loyalty was probably built into a lot of relationships, you know, because you really needed to have somebody watching your back, you know, somebody you could trust.
You stay in your seats and you will have a nice story to tell your friends. Get up, move around, and you probably will not be talking to them.
After a string of successful robberies, Jesse James reestablishes himself as one of the most dangerous criminals in the West.
What did I tell you about bringing strangers around here?
Well, this is my brother Robert, the one I told you about.
It's a pleasure to meet you. How old are you?
20? Nearly 20?
How many men you killed? I'm asking you, not your brother.
None?
I got no use for him.
Jesse, he's my brother. I trust him more than anyone I know.
Low on whiskey. Did you hear what I just said?
Jesse needs an extra man because he has a bank robbery planned in Platte City. So he's willing to accept this young Bob Ford, who's Charlie's brother, because Jesse liked Charlie Ford, and I'm sure that Charlie vouched for Bob.
With another gang member on board, Jesse James starts planning his next heist. Over 1,000 miles to the west, one man continues to crack down on crime in his town. For the past 4 months, Wyatt Earp and his brothers, Virgil and Morgan, have been on the hunt for 3 outlaws involved in a deadly stagecoach robbery. But to catch the men, Wyatt has brought in more muscle.
2 for me, Wyatt.
A famed gambler and notorious gunman named Doc Holliday.
Oh boy, my heart's broken.
Doc Holliday and Wyatt Earp met in Dodge City. They had been friends for a long time. So Doc turns up in Tombstone as well and was very close to the Earps.
Wyatt plans to ride out with Doc and his brothers to confront the men responsible. But before Wyatt can take them down, the 3 suspects turn up dead.
Wyatt wanted to solve the murders. Only the perpetrators got caught in another showdown and were killed.
With the suspects dead, in Wyatt's mind, the case is closed.
All right, boys, poker's the game. $10 to get in. Can I do you 4 more?
Take 2.
8 more.
I fold.
Surprise, surprise.
We need to talk. What do you want? I gave you 3 names. I won by $3,600. The $3,600 was for the reward. The 3 names you gave me wound up dead. I took a big risk giving up those names. I know you did. If I had the money, I'd give it to you. But I don't. That's not my problem. It's not mine either. I told you, don't cross me. I heard you the first time. I think we both know you're not going to do a damn thing about it. Get the hell out of here.
Ike was caught in the middle, and he was afraid that if anybody knew that he had this deal with Wyatt Earp, his name would be mud, because loyalty was everything at the frontier.
With Ike Clanton looking to make good on his threat, Wyatt Earp realizes he's made a new enemy in Tombstone.
Shall we resume, boys?
For the last 4 years, Lakota leader Sitting Bull and his people have been following the northern buffalo herd in Canada after being forced from their native lands in the United States. Following the death of Crazy Horse at the hands of the U.S. Army, Sitting Bull is one of the few remaining leaders of the Lakota. And now, after a brutal winter, his people are facing a crisis.
Katanka unala ia.
Ozia takia lua nkokiipi.
Oyateki lila ota hukapi na kujapi. Ohani otitia maniki la kujapi. Eshni.
Sitting Bull realizes he has no choice but to lead his people back to America and agree to live on the reservation.
I just feel like he had to have known this isn't going to get better. Any respectful man who loves his wife and his children, that's what they're going to do.
Upon his arrival to the U.S., Sitting Bull, like thousands of Indians, is forced to assimilate to the white man's ways.
He was adjusting to reservation life. Not that he liked it, but there was a certain acceptance, I guess. I don't think anyone that was born in a teepee, that was living the last part of their life on a reservation, I don't know how anyone could have been happy.
Knowing that things will never go back to the way they were, Sitting Bull believes there may be one way to preserve some of the Lakota culture. In 1885, Sitting Bull leaves his reservation to join Buffalo Bill Cody's famous Wild West show.
Buffalo Bill started portraying himself on stage. It was kind of a combination of a rodeo and performances. And one of the very savvy things that Buffalo Bill did was that he would bring real Native Americans along in the show, and they would perform, and they would kind of reenact battles. It was wildly popular in the 1880s and 1890s in the United States.
Why would someone like Sitting Bull agree to join the Wild West show? There seems to have been a couple of reasons for this. For a lot of Lakota who are on the reservations, they're being exposed to these tremendous efforts to Americanize them, right? To destroy their culture. The Wild West show is one of the few ways that they can actually maintain at least a fragment of traditional culture and demonstrate their skill as horsemen and their skill and bravery as warriors.
While Sitting Bull begins touring the country, another legend of the West is gaining notoriety once again.
My name is Jesse James, and I trust you know who I am.
With a new gang by his side, Jesse James has successfully pulled off a series of train heists. But his actions are gaining more attention than ever.
For Missouri, for the governors and for the bankers, it's not good when people call your state the robber state. That doesn't really recruit business. That doesn't recruit land buyers. It's a stain on your state. So they want to get beyond that.
The railroad companies reach out to the governor of Missouri to put an end to Jesse's spree, offering a $5,000 reward for his capture.
You want to explain to me what in the hell took you so long?
We came as quick as we could.
Anybody see him?
No.
Sit down.
With a new bounty on his head, Jesse goes into hiding. And he knows if he's going to stay away from the law, he needs to keep his two newest gang members close to him.
Jesse was the most paranoid of any of the gang members. He'd become very suspicious, and you can't really blame him. I think that the Ford boys, he can keep an eye on them and make sure that everything is normal the way it should be.
All right, this bounty that's on my head, it's now on all of our heads. You understand what I'm saying?
I understand, yeah.
As a man with a price on his head, it's becoming hard for Jesse to tell who he can trust. After escaping jail, Billy the Kid is enjoying life as a fugitive.
He never, ever, for a second, thought he was going to be caught. And if he was caught, what would he do? He would escape, because he was always escaping. And he had a sense that he had a charmed life and that there was nothing that could ever touch him. And, you know, he's 20 years old. I mean, he's got that sense of immortality.
Every friend he encounters tells him, Billy, Pat Garrett is a different kind of sheriff. He is not going to stop hunting you. You can flee now, go to Mexico. Nobody's going to look for you in Mexico. Get out of the territory. But he insisted on staying in that Fort Sumner area, that part of eastern New Mexico.
But what Billy doesn't realize is that Lincoln County Sheriff Pat Garrett has been tracking him for the last 3 months.
Killing the two deputies changes everything, and Garrett engages in a massive manhunt for Billy the Kid.
After hearing rumors that Billy may be in Fort Sumner, Pat Garrett uses his knowledge of the land to track the young outlaw to a ranch outside of town.
Stay here. I'm gonna go look around.
You know, for the average citizen, Billy the Kid is very horrifying. I mean, that he's on the loose. So there's tremendous pressure on Pat Garrett as the sheriff to get Billy, kill him, capture him, get it done.
Billy the Kid's just incredibly charming, but he's also deadly, and he could just turn on a dime. And that smile could fade, and that pistol would come out.
Kid is dead at 21 years old. But in death, a kid from New York City becomes a legend of the American West.
Billy the Kid is just that. He was a kid. He was a kid caught up in something that he couldn't control without any deeper ambition than just to survive in this jungle.
Billy lived in a very, very violent world, and the way he responded was sensational. And then the way he died made him legendary.
The newspapers pick up on the story. There are books written about him. He became what he did because he embodies the idea of freedom.
When you take a look at the dime novels that were so successful back east, it was always the David against the Goliath that was the most exciting. Billy the Kid was so attractive in that context. He was this very small, unassuming kid. But if you tried to take advantage of him, you'd pay for it. And there was a great romance in that.
The death of Billy the Kid marks the end of an era. But while one ruthless outlaw may be gone, the violence in the West is far from over. After Wyatt Earp refuses to give Ike Clanton a $3,600 bounty, the notorious cowboy is out for revenge.
You're a dead man, Earp! Wyatt! You're a dead man!
Ike Clanton's not happy with Earp's. So he walked around that morning pretty much letting everybody know he was going to kill them.
To back up his threats, Clanton enlists the help of his fellow gang members.
It's Ike. Well, he's in town. Why, he's drunker than hell. Going around telling everyone he's coming to kill you and your brothers.
Where's he at?
Last place I saw him was over on Fremont.
Does he have anyone else with him?
4, maybe 5 guys.
There was a lot of anxiety and tension. And it was brewing. You could feel it. You knew something was going to happen. You knew something was going down that day.
By bringing their guns into Tombstone, Clanton's gang knows they are provoking a fight.
What do you want to do, Wyatt? Go get me Doc Holliday.
Yes, sir.
Ike Clanton has been talking all around town about what they're going to do to Wyatt. The Earps make the decision to walk down there and confront these guys. The way to understand men in this period is an honor culture. You have to be willing to meet any challenge to your honor with violence. Otherwise, you're a coward.
Wyatt Earp is headed to a showdown with Ike Clanton at the OK Corral.
The sight of the three Earp brothers and Doc Holliday marching down the dusty streets of Tombstone to confront the cowboys at the OK Corral has burned into our mythology.
Give us your guns. Throw up your hands. I'm not gonna ask again.